Of talk is here. Power 102 Digital.
This is Hard Talk, Power 102 Digital Tuesday. Today we deal with Trini Ting. And of course, it's all about we music and we culture. I've invited on the set with me representatives of the Trinidad and Tobago Carnival Museum. I have with me right now Mr. Peter Corby. I'm expecting Hassani to join me in a short while, but let's start with Mr. Corby. Good afternoon, sir, and how are you?
Hi, good afternoon, David. Thank you for having us on air today, and good afternoon to the listening public.
Okay, I see Mr. Watley has now joined us. So I
Good
would like,
afternoon.
yes, let me say a special very thank you to you guys for joining us. I've always wanted to have a conversation live on air about the carnival, the Trinidad and Tobago Carnival Museum. Mr. Intyre and I, we share a nice relation. I've been there on an occasion already in the initial stages. So I guess you guys will spill your guts and let the world know because we are streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook about the Carnival Museum. I know a lot have been out there already, but in turn, you guys can tell us about the initiation of it. You know what happened initially and where it's at and opening hours and things. Let's start with that. Let me start with Peter, and then we go to Mr. Watley.
Well,
All right.
Okay, seems like Mr. Watley wants to start.
Well,
yeah,
yeah, go ahead, let it
yes.
do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
this will be the better one. Good afternoon to all. So
Yes.
the Carnival Museum originally was a coming together or brainchild of the TTCBA, which is the Trinidad and Tobago Carnival Band Association, and CIT, which is the Carnival Institute of Trinidad and Tobago. At the point in time, First Citizens Bank had a tender out for cultural services for the Penny Bank, which is located on the corner of Charlotte and Duke Street. And they invited tenders for cultural services. And those two organizations decided to put in a joint bid for Carnival Museum in Trinidad and Tobago. That happened roughly in 2020. And the combination were able to win the bid through the tendering process of assuming control of the Penny Bank through that FCB process. And then in March of 2021, the TTCM, or the Trinidad and Tobago Carnival Museum, was formed as a non-profit organization
Okay.
to
Okay.
handle the affairs of what we propose as a museum.
Okay. I should have asked you your position at the TTC. Let everybody know what's your position there.
I am the project manager for the refurbishment of the building and have been one of the original members in the steering committee and pulling together this idea with Ms. Rosalind Gabriel, Mr. Kenny Atai, and at that point in time, Dr. Kim Johnson. And then from there, we started building out the rest of the team.
Oh, okay. Okay. Mr. Corby, tell me your position at the TTCM.
Well, at this current point in time, I am the person managing the day-to-day operations of the museum. Of course, we are open to the public, so lots of times we have a lot of guests who will visit us. But because the museum right now is still in its project phase. There is still a lot of infrastructural work that has to get done.
Mhm.
So it's a twofold kind of organization right now. We are working on building the museum into the physical entity that it's ought to be. But we have exhibits that are available right now. So yeah, my position is basically to manage both aspects of that.
Okay, it's a fantastic idea. I think both you gentlemen can share your opinions on the significance of the Trinidad and Tobago Carnival Museum. Some people they don't understand what the significance of such an entity is. So both of you guys can share your opinions with us.
Um, First and foremost, Carnival is very inherent to the culture of Trinidad and Tobago and has been around definitely over 100 years, almost 200 years in some way or form, from the abolition of slavery come forward, even from Camberley riots, all those which happened in 1981 or something like that. So Carnival has been a deep cultural aspect of us. But like most of us, or like what has happened in the past, there has been no way to formally capture our history except through stories that have been passed on from generation to generation. And of course, through skill sets that would have been developed over these decades through generation and generation. And as we look at the evolution of Carnival and what it has been evolving into, even from, let's say, 1960s to now, you could easily see how Carnival as a product has changed to the public. Even if it as we look at music, the music of the day, which would have probably been predominantly steel band and calypso, to now where we have the evolution of soca and much more and that kind of stuff now. And it was we as a group and as an entity, which was the steering committee and of course Peter, um, we felt it was necessary that there's some way to preserve the culture and to preserve these stories as to how carnival in the country has evolved and more importantly, how our carnival has actually influenced over 50 other carnivals worldwide. And that is why the tagline for the TTCM, or the Trinidad and Tobago Carnival Museum, is the home of carnival. You
Okay,
know,
Peter, what's your take?
Yeah, to add to what Lucy is saying, the reality is that oftentimes we tend to find that with the newer generations, they don't have that opportunity to experience our history. And a result of that, our heritage and culture tends to become a foregone conclusion. What we need to do, and of course, what this is our responsibility here at the Carnival Museum, is to ensure that we preserve the spirit of the festival. And as the lady said, I mean, Trinidad really and truly is the birthplace of Carnival. It has influenced so many other carnivals across the world. And, we do see it as our primary responsibility to ensure that all of this history, this heritage, and this culture is well preserved in one place. So, we do take that very seriously. We have had the opportunity to showcase a lot of the elements of Carnival, and we do have a lot of intentions, taking that further. So yeah, it's a great organization that we have here. The intention is to really ensure that the younger generation coming forward will always have the opportunity to benefit from what they can learn here at the museum.
Okay, okay. Now I know you said you are in charge of the operations of the daily operations. Opening times are like when?
We are available to the public from Wednesdays to Saturdays between the hours of 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And on Sundays we are actually open as well between the hours of 2 p.m. and 5 p.m.
Okay. Well, I know a lot of people probably pass through to see, from based on curiosity and wanting to know more, they have come there. Tell me something. This kind of hard work, I've been advocating this a long, long time. I have my own way since I've been since 2000. I've been very conscious about what I call we music and we culture. It deals mostly with the musical aspect of the culture because my advocacy will be mostly through calypso, steel pan, and the musical arts. I try to tell stories and make people understand, like what you're saying about carnival from then to now. Now, is it beneficial from a commercial point of view with you guys as being, let's say, the promoters and the you will be reaching the world, in other words, as to what this entity is about. Now, how beneficial that would be in the long run? If I should just shorten the question by asking, in the long run, I mean, it's hard work to put in. I know it takes a lot of time and effort and creativity and innovation and stuff. And seeing that we still have a lot of work to do, like you said, because I've been there and I've seen the project, I'm growing in step by step and stuff. How beneficial do you think it's going to be for Trinidad and Tobago in the long run?
I think we have several beneficial points to the country as we start there.
Hmm.
As a country, our most recognizable product internationally as Carnival. And to have a place where Carnival could be viewed 365 days a year, or at least some form of education or interaction of it in a form that is palatable to persons who may not understand the grandeur of it is initially one of the first benefits that having a museum around will bring to the public. So as you would have noticed, or we will see over the next couple of months, there'll be a couple of cruise ships coming into the country. And this is a way in which these foreigners that come in could also kind of experience Carnival, whether Carnival is happening or not, or at least understand the history and the culture of the country, whether if it's happening or not. And that is one of the primary benefits of what we are doing here. Um, I think secondly, of course, or is preservation of, as mentioned before by Peter, is preservation of culture and preservation of, if it is that statement, if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going to.
Yeah.
So it's kind of understanding what we have done as a people, how creative we are as persons, and it should help inspire the future generations as to how creative we can still become, or how
Okay.
we could evolve this product even further.
Mm-hmm.
So those are like the two immediate benefits that jump into my head. I don't know if Peter have others to add in there.
Well, from an
Uh,
admission point of view, let's go ahead, Peter, and then you tell me like what it will cost people to come into the museum and how will that add to maintenance of the museum.
sure. Well, to add to the city's point there as well, the messages that we have to share about our culture is global. Just recently, we had a group of 19 students from the U.S. They came from Illinois, and just they decided to pop into the museum. They heard about it, and we took them for the full tour. And when they heard exactly about what our carnival is about, how it differs from others, and the impact that it has not just on us and our younger generation, but also on the global society, they were amazed. And the impact of that is that we have now taken our message not just locally but internationally, because these are students who came to study about sustainability in Trinidad and Tobago, and now they learned another perspective, on that end. So again, these are the things that people will be able to take abroad and to share what we have to accomplish. In terms of accessing the museum, our fee is relatively, it's manageable. Adults are $60. Children in school uniforms in particular are $10.
Oh,
So we try to make it as manageable as possible, so that persons would come and visit us freely.
okay, okay. Now, I love the idea. I was like elated when I heard about it, and I'm wondering, I know it's not easy to have the corporate people come on board. Were they invited to come on board?
I um initially, of course, they were invited, but I wouldn't say it to a large extent because the approach we kind of took within the organization was to prove and show as we go along. And that's why we felt it was necessary to start these temporary exhibitions to the
Hmm.
public, because that saying, build it and they will come. We believe that is a very true thing, because people want to see tangible things in order to believe in it and in order to push it and to grow it. And I do believe that the more that we have corporate that coming to visit the museum, is the more interest they have taken with us so far.
Okay. What about support? Any support requested from these same people? Some
So
people
far,
they stay in the behind the scenes, but they support.
yeah, yeah. Well, we good at that in Trinidad.
Yeah.
I, our main so far, I would say our main supporter has been the Ministry of Tourism,
Hmm.
because they have seen the benefit of the project to the country
Yeah.
and the impact that it will have on the country from both local tourism and foreign tourism. So they have been our main sponsors in the past as well. NLCB has given a contribution to us because they also understood the vision that we were trying to create here. And in the meantime, we have been in talks with other entities, such as a couple of the embassies, where we had a couple ambassadors visiting the museum and recognizing what we are trying to do and how much more still needs to be done. And of course, we're still trying to talk to other agencies as we go along. I think the easiest way is that once they come and they see it, that is where dialogue starts.
Mhm.
You know.
Of course,
So I think the
we
approach
can't.
that we took was good.
Mhm.
Yeah, Pete.
Yeah. Of course, we can't forget to mention the Free Citizens Foundation,
Yeah.
because of course, without them, we would not have this structure, this building. And throughout time, they have continued to support in every way that they can. So yeah, we definitely need to name them. Um, on the operational level, of course, in being able to put together the exhibits, we have to talk about Tuco, Trinbago, the Carnival Institute of Trinidad and Tobago, Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Arts, because they all play a part in helping us develop the content, to put out these exhibits. So definitely, without them, that with their support, we would not be at the position that we are right now. And fortunately, of course, because they have seen the benefits of what we've done, they continue to support, with the upcoming exhibits that are meant to roll out in the next month or two.
Okay, okay. Now, you spoke about the as it is now. Let's talk about as it is now. If I'm, let's say I've never been there and I came to the location where this Carnival Museum is, what do I expect to see? And I know it's on different levels. So let's not go into what's unfinished, right? So let's say what's
Mm.
being offered right now from level one.
At present, we have two main exhibits on display.
Yeah.
We have uh, one exhibit is on the history of the steel pan
Mhm.
through art. So we have 17 different paintings depicting the history of the steel pan through an artist that was done in 2003, and it was a private collection that we were lucky enough to have shared with us to display to the public,
Mhm.
and that takes us from Tambu Bamboo straight to what we know as Panorama today through the paintings, and of course also within the display we do have Tambu Bamboo elements, and we do have a tenor pan within the display as well, to where people could come and play pan and that kind of stuff. And Peter could tell you more about the second one, the Calypso one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. The first exhibit that persons will be exposed to is the history of Calypso, and thorough collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism and Culture and the Arts. We also have a very special feature on the women of Calypso, throughout history. So it's really, it gets you engrossed into what Calypso started off as and where it has taken us to right now. We look at the persons who have played an integral part in developing, this aspect, this component of carnival, and it is really a mind blowing thing when you get engrossed in it. We see some of the historical pieces, as in the records of some of these foundation entertainers. It's something that persons who really appreciate culture and the arts, calypso in particular, they would really appreciate, this exhibit.
Hmm. Yeah, I know. And from we spoke about the educational aspect of it, and um I know Mr. When I went there, Mr. Matt Atai showed me an area where there's some sort of a educational entity within the Carnival Museum itself, where they were teaching young people about.
Oh,
Yeah, tell us about that.
yeah. During the summer period, we combined with the educator group, and we put on a children's workshop
Yeah.
for about four. I think it was around for about 4 weeks. Discussing carnival and teaching the children about carnival as a summer camp.
Hmm.
That was during the summertime. Even within the steering committee side, we actually have one of the members developing an actual educational program that we'll want to eventually have schools accessing.
Yeah.
That that will that will allow persons to, even from through a portal, even from home, to understand what information we have available on certain areas on topics as we go along. But the museum as itself, we do look for key partnerships with entities as we go along and finding ways of showcasing the culture. Because at the end of the day, the culture is so wide and so vast, you cannot showcase all in one go, and you cannot showcase all in, let's say, in a week or two. Actually, based on just being involved in this project myself personally, I think we could talk Carnival 365 days a year because there's so much stories, so much different information. Yeah, it's a lot, and even when it says we break it down into the main components of pan, calypso, steel pan, and then I would put in the fourth component of traditional mass and history. It,
Yeah.
there, I think as a country we could be talking for years if we pick a different topic or a different mass man or a different pan man.
Yeah.
you know.
That's right.
With the
So,
evolution.
David, to tell you how committed we are to preserving the culture and the art of Carnival, we recently installed a mass camp here at the museum,
Yeah.
which we do anticipate that we'll be able to activate in the next month or so, so that when persons come to visit the museum, they will actually get to see a live mass camp, which is something you're not going to get in the more contemporary mass camps anymore.
Yeah.
So again, persons are going to be able to see, those traditional costumes being made by hand, the wire bending, all those things. So, we are taking it to the limit.
Because I too talk a lot about that, and with the evolution, we don't see that anymore. So it has
Yeah.
evolved into what I was discussing with Mr. Atai, and his response kind of shocked me, but I agree with his response in that it has gone from showcasing the stories or of the different, Trinidad, the culture is so varied. It's a real cosmopolitan country, and it's so varied that I said, well, I don't like how these days we are not seeing masquerading of the different cultures. I can remember back with Mr. Mac Williams. I can remember George Bailey, Stephen Lee Young. They portrayed historical aspects of the mass and showcased. I remember Mr. Mac Williams doing the Book Reef and that kind of thing that really told stories about Trinidad and Tobago. With the evolution now, how does that affect the quality of showcasing and expose that will be needed by the museum, seeing that it has reached to what I told Mr. Atai, like beads and bikini,
Well,
to be a little raw. I say this is these days is like a flesh parade, And,
well,
tell me
so,
how would you source continuous material for showcasing if it has reached to this?
well, honestly, I'm not even worried about where it has reached though, because we haven't even gathered on what has passed and what has gone past.
Yes,
And how you highlighted, like, even those examples there just now with Mac Williams and stuff, because those are the things that we need to preserve in order to remind people of what we once were, in order to evolve the carnival. Again, remember, as we have stated, the carnival has been evolving over the last couple of decades
yes.
as we go. And although bikini and beads may be the in thing right now,
Hmm.
what stops it from going back into being portrayals of the bookery for of a book or anything like that that comes from Trinidad and Tobago probably in the next 20 years?
Hmm.
Remember that there's actually one of the key hinges and importance of the museum is to remind people where we came from in
Yeah.
order to take us further into 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 what else we could evolve into. And the good thing about it is that if it is, we now understand that we're in a world of technology where even looking at what costuming might be in the future, who says costumes may not turn into holograms on people, We
Hmm.
we don't know where carnival is going into. I mean, yes, we know what it is right now, as being bikini and beads and probably flesh as it has stated right now.
Yeah.
But in the next 10 years, that may not be it. Or in the
Hmm.
next 20 years,
Correct.
that may not be it.
Hmm.
The
Yeah.
same way how in the 80s we would have seen standards and other portrayals.
Yeah.
Carnival evolves, and it evolves with the time of the day and how we as a people in Trinidad and Tobago see ourselves.
Because in my analysis, I would break them down into eras. I say this era portray this and this era portray that. Peter, what's your take on what I just said there?
That's right. And I mean, the truth of the matter is that as a museum, it's our responsibility to document every aspect of history, right?
Hmm.
So what we are experiencing now with contemporary mass has already cemented itself as a part of the history of Carnival. So, fast forwarding probably to the next 30 or 40 years, what we see currently will then be the history of Carnival as well, in terms of the evolution of mass. So all of these things, part of the curation would have to form part of the curation going forward into the future.
Okay, okay. Now that you guys are hoping to have an educational section, if I should put, to let people know how it was created, how you can create and thing, would we see, would that affect the same evolution? Because I know sometimes the young people now, I mean, most of the older heads, even those that passed, never left the kind of information and the kind of knowledge that they had for these young people, because things were changing so fast, and we're even into this digital and e-world, as I call it now. So this section that you guys are hoping to bring on board on a permanent basis, you think it would help make the youths understand what portrayals should be in the future?
Definitely. So just to kind of give you an understanding of some of the work we're actually doing in the background right now,
Yeah.
at this point in time, we're actually trying to create uh, I would want to say what our view of what the virtual museum may look like, and
Hmm.
also what that digital aspects of the museum will look like. Because when it is, we understand that technology is important in order to keep the museum relevant for the younger people to be interested in learning it and interacting with what was our history. And so even right now in the documentation as we're developing, we're looking at ideas of using present day technology. Let's say, for instance, simple things, maybe digitizing all of these old cassettes and records, and probably creating a online radio station from the museum where people could probably go back and listen to old time calypsos or panorama champions. Another example of how we could incorporate technology that will encourage these young people to be interested in museum is we could create a virtual reality gallery where we could probably portray art from artists where they have collections based on carnival. There are different ways in which we can still make this relevant to the population and still make it interesting and intriguing as we move forward in the next couple of years. But of course, this is where we'll need help from corporate Trinidad a lot in understanding our vision, and also making sure our vision is very clear so that people could see how this will benefit everyone. Because the reality of it is that if we could become the main repository of information for all things carnival in the country, we now become a hub where anybody could subscribe to us online, or anybody in the world could be able to access this information online.
Yeah.
And that is one of our major goals that we are hoping to achieve over the next year to 2 years,
Mhm.
where it is we could kind of get this infrastructure built out and having this information available online. So even for the youths and them that are always on their phone,
Yeah.
they could basically go to a TTCM app or something like that and be able to, whether it be research a paper or listen to music or
Mhm.
look at how the costumes were
Mhm.
from footage crossing the Savannah stage to the kings and queens costumes. Is really utilizing technology as a tool in order to keep the interest of the younger generation moving forward.
Now I know the museum. It's a nice building, and I thought it's very nice and roomy and thing. But when I think about the kind of mask, the kind of kings and queens we've had already, I mean, it probably need like a these air balloons to hold all these costumes. How you guys plan to? Is there a visual section where it would be showcased to people who come, especially like the schools and educational institution that will want to come to gather information about carnival, then especially?
I will touch base on this. I can let Peter touch base after. I know that we are actually looking at certain partnerships where, for instance, because the museum is just a building by itself, and when it is you consider the size of some of these carnival kings and queens
Yes.
costumes, of course, this is impossible for it to be housed within the physical building.
Yeah, yeah.
So there are two approaches that we have been considering. Of course, you could do showcasing within open areas such as the Savannah or Millfleurs or any one of these areas where the museum could take some of these aspects to the road or to the people in open areas and at least have them nearer to the public, interacting with the public. So all activities in the museum don't necessarily need to happen exactly within the building.
Yeah.
And then, of course, secondly, there would be through SIT, because SIT has a very vast library of kings and queens and all of that, where we within the museum we do have like televisions and stuff where some of these past kings and queens could be portrayed for the persons that at least understand the beauty of these things when they were being portrayed in the competitions visually.
You spoke about the Ministry of Tourism and Culture and the Arts jumping on board. I know of a Trinidad and Tobago Trust. They contribute as well?
They talk about the National Trust.
Yes, the National Trust, yeah.
From what I understand, we have been trying to talk to the National Trust about earmarking the building as one of the, let's say, the buildings to keep to save.
Yeah.
You know, because of course the penny bank was formed, I believe, in 1913, so that building by itself is over 100 years. Is over 100 years old.
Yes.
You know, and we don't have much of those buildings standing up in Trinidad anymore. So I mean, if from a natural trust point of view, we are trying to find ways, and at least initial discussions have been had in trying to declare the building as one of those important landmarks within the country, and of course, understanding the previous significance of what the penny bank was in terms of calling it, I would call it the poor people bank, but it was really the bank for the man on the street.
Yes.
You know, and the significance that it had for the persons. You know, aligning with the National Trust would make sense in all ways or form.
Peter, I see you want to add to it.
Yeah, just to speak to the historical significance of the building itself, the actual structure. The limestone that was used to build the actual building was transported from the hills of Lavantil, and it actually it has sister buildings in the president's house and the original police headquarters, which is on St. Vincent Street. They all share the same limestone that was transported from Lavin to build those buildings. So that's to tell you exactly how significant the actual building is itself.
What about the invitation for people who have documents or footage to bring into the museum to add to the collection that is already there?
That's a very good question. Of course, everything that we do or that is being portrayed within the museum is actually created by professionals within the country. And persons have reached out multiple times to us to saying that they have documents or papers and everything like that. And of course, in working alongside the creators, we are trying to find ways of, instead of taking this as it right now, finding proper ways of storage, firstly, because some of these things need to be stored in certain climate control to make sure the preservation is better. But it's also understanding that we are still in a transitionary phase where we are putting on these exhibits right now in order to continuously bring awareness, in order to finish the refurbishment of the building. And hopefully when the project phase of this is done and we go into full operationalize of everyday run-ins with full staff and everything like that, that there will be more systems and procedures in place in order to collect the necessary data and the necessary artifacts from the private collectors around the country and around the world. You know?
Is there
Of course,
yeah, go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, to add to that, we need to understand that the business of the museum is an ongoing thing. So we need to ensure we have someone who's responsible for doing research, to help us, collate all the information, all the data that we need. We need an archivist, so that when we do curate, this material, that it's properly housed and properly documented. And to that point, I know the city had touched on a digitization project. And this is something that we're going to take very seriously, because just as Carnival is a dynamic, organism of itself, the museum has to become the same. So while we are currently that brick and mortar structure, we are looking at that digital window to say, so that all this information, even through the curation phase, could become available to members of the public as well.
Okay, okay. Now, I asked that question because I know sometimes people, when they think about carnival, especially foreigners, they think about Port of Spain, Queens Park, Savannah, or let's say San Fernando. But there are other rural areas that contribute to the presentation of carnival, Trinidad and Tobago carnival. Are you guys gathering information like from Point Fontaine, from Cuva, from Chaguanas?
So the easiest way to answer that is that, of course, the NCC is responsible for the regional carnivals that exist within
Yeah.
the country.
Mhm.
And this project that we do here with the TTCM is endorsed by the NCC.
Yeah.
So it is not about us necessarily redoing the work that others have been doing, but
Mhm.
is making strategic partnerships with entities that exist already within the landscape in order to draw upon information.
Mhm.
All right.
But,
So
yeah. I know the museum was recently open. What kind of response or responses, where that is concerned, you guys have been, you know, getting so far?
Pete,
Sorry, can you repeat that?
What kind of responses based on the regional carnivals and things? Well, I know the people who run these regional carnivals are quite aware that we now have a Trinidad and Tobago Carnival Museum, in inviting them to contribute whatever displays or information or documentation of their carnivals from then to now. What kind of responses you guys have been getting?
Well, as far as I understand, I mean, well, we take the responsibility of making sure that we coalesce with all of these communities and
Yeah.
their efforts, because at the end of the day, they've all made valuable contributions, and they all hold a very, special place in Carnival. And the reality is that we just want to create this one standard platform, this area, so that we could formalize all the Carnival cultural heritages, and the legacies. So everybody's supposed to have a place, to call home here at the museum.
Okay. Well, now that social media is the thing, I mean,
Yes.
tell people about the platforms that they can find the TTCM, and if they have information, how they can send it to the TCCM.
so digital. Well, first and foremost, we have a website called ttcarnivalmuseum.com.
Okay. Hmm.
We also do have Instagram, which is tt.carnivalmuseum on Instagram. We also do have a Facebook page as well,
Yeah.
which I believe is TT Carnival
The Carnival
Museum.
Museum.
It's TT Carnival Museum.
It's very easy to find us.
Yeah, and we do have a email address, which is ttcarnivalmuseum@gmail.com. As you can see, the common thread inside there.
Mhm.
Plug in TT Carnival Museum when some one of these platforms, you must find us. The
Okay.
Instagram one would be tt.carnival museum,
Uh,
but the other platforms would be ttcarnivalmuseum at Gmail. If you want to reach out to us, that'll be the best way via email first, so that we can streamline the process. Because obviously, we are working with a skeleton team right now within the organization
yeah.
as we continue to transition and build out the museum project.
Because
So
I've
the best,
I've saved those questions for last year. Though. With all that hard work, you need a staff that has the belief and commitment to Trinidad Carnival and the museum's, purpose. If you put it on a wholesome kind of scale, how you manage that? I mean, I know funding is something else. I know attracting income could be problematic also. How you guys manage? What kind of staffing you have there right now?
Well,
I'll
admittedly, it's a very small group,
Yeah.
but they do very powerful things.
Mhm.
I always give them a lot of credit for what they've been able to accomplish for the last 2 years that we've been in existence. Uh,
Mhm.
they have quite literally committed themselves. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get things done, especially when we have to create the exhibits. But they they go they go tirelessly to get it done. I love their commitment, especially the younger ones who are responsible for doing the tours here at the museum.
Yeah.
Two of them are actually recent graduates of the UTT music program, very talented young persons, and we would encourage more of them, to join us, because as far as I'm concerned, the more hands you have, the lighter the load, and they bring a different element, of interactivity to the tours, so that they share a lot of their history, they share their experience, even as young persons, but because they've taken the perspective from the academic side and molded it with the historical. Um, they have a lot to share, a lot to for the public to benefit from.
As an emotional part aspect of it, you think it's they are gravitating towards the the cultural aspect of Trinidad and Tobago? You think it's creating a gravitation of the young people, an interest in what's happening?
I think that is what we are hoping to achieve,
Yeah.
because by
Yes.
even just having this museum open and at least exposing the school children at minimum
Hmm.
to what Trinidad came from, and what we once was from a carnival perspective.
Yeah.
This is how we capture more of these young brilliant minds in order to be further interested in carnival and the culture.
Yeah.
Because the reality of it is that this is when they are impressionable. And if we at the museum could give them a very good impression of what Trinidad is, that is something that is positive, something that is enjoyed by part of the population. I don't want to say all of the population,
Yeah.
and something that they can see a future in.
Yeah.
Then I think what we are doing in the museum is worth it.
Hmm.
And I do believe that as long as we continue to do that, we will have young ones coming up through the system, and wanting to further the education and the work that we do here at the TTCM.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I want to.
We
Yeah.
we see
Go
the
ahead.
impact.
Hmm.
We see the impact that we do have, especially on the young ones, as the city just mentioned, because we do get you know school tours coming in, so we have that kind of influence, that kind of impact, and even within recent times, we hosted a young group of tourism students from the Pleasantville Secondary School,
Yeah.
and you can see the appreciation that they had for our culture, for our heritage, and wanting to impart the information that they received here. And the one message that I left them with, before they took off, was that each one needs to tell one, because the museum on its own, yes, while we have a very strong social media platform, it's really up to us, when we visit the museum, to go out and talk about it, so others will be able to come and visit and experience, and really benefit from it.
Well, yes. And now, where that is concerned, schools that are willing to come to the museum, do they have to apply? Because they might just plan, well, we're going on a field trip and we're going to pass by the museum. Um, is there some sort of
It is
That's
how you get?
it is highly encouraged, more so because these groups tend to be very large groups. Oftentimes, when we get visitors, we usually do it in groups of 10 or 15. However, when we get schools, it's a lot more. Just as a heads up, like tomorrow, we have a group of 106 students coming in.
My,
So you can well imagine the planning that has to go into ensuring that they come in here and have a fantastic experience. But yes, we do encourage schools to at least call us in advance.
my.
We have a phone number they can contact us at.
Mhm. Give them the
It's
number.
613
Hmm.
8504. And they can get us between the hours of 10 to 5, and they can schedule a booking anytime they like, and we'll accommodate.
All right. Well, I know you are busy, gentlemen. I told you the guys the program was going till 6, but I know I've gotten messages from both of you guys. So I'm gonna ask you a final question that is so important. Now, I am always the advocate, like I said. I've been doing this for a very, very long time. And when I heard about it, I couldn't help it. I had to come and let Mr. Atai know I want to be part of this. I'm committed on air ever since 2000. I have changed my whole vibe. I used to play all kind of music and things. So I have brought myself to playing Trini music, and it can go, it can be varied, soca, calypso, whatever is homegrown, I will publish and promote and market as a matter of fact. Now, the problem I used to be seeing is that if we had maintained a more on air local presence, I don't think we would have been in the situation of negativity as is happening now. So I'm hoping that when children come to visit the museum, it will impact on them so much that they will think I can do something positive for Trinidad and Tobago instead of doing the negative stuff. Now, with that in mind now, the location of the place, some people might be feeling at home and this and that. What about security arrangements? When these groups, especially school or even tourists, when they come there, how safe can they feel? Is that uh,
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
definitely well, first and foremost, the location has a lot of historical presence, and that's why we were very passionate about picking that location,
yeah,
because of course it was near to the birthplace of Steel Pan and where the Camberley riots and all of that was just a street a block over, you
yeah,
know. So if it is you're going to have a carnival museum, you should at least have it near to where it kind of came out from,
yeah.
first and foremost. So I could understand. That's to explain the location. In terms of security, the museum does have security, and we do have a car park attached to the building. So
Mhm.
most times these groups, have access and stuff, they could pull into the accommodate them in the car park, and they could be offloaded in the car park and come into the building.
Mhm.
Um, During certain hours, we also do have access to the Agricultural Development Bank car park as well too. We have
Okay.
been they have been fortunate enough to give us leeway in usage of the car park at certain hours of the day,
Mhm.
which also kind of help us facilitate, especially on the weekend.
Yeah.
So, I mean, although Charlotte Street may be seen as or Chinatown, whatever is the name they want to call it now, maybe seen
A hot spot or
as a hotspot.
yeah.
eh, You can't have carnival without being in the heart of where it is from.
Yeah.
I
And I
agree.
mean, literally, Renegades is right up the road. All Stars is 2 buildings away
Yeah.
to the left of us on Duke Street. And if
Mhm.
people normally come there for, let's say, pan semis,
Mhm.
which not pan semis, pan prelims,
Yeah.
which has been in nighttime, and we have no issues. Um, we don't expect much issues when people come to the museum. And the amazing thing about this country is that, and with all the crime and everything like that, we still have some measure of respect for culture, somewhat, when it
Yeah.
comes to certain things and at certain times of the year.
Mhm. Mhm.
So even by the museum there, we haven't had any issues from a security point of view
Okay.
with that per
Yeah.
se.
Okay. Peter,
Yeah.
you
And
there?
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I think the other thing that we want to do is to foster that sense of community as well. So while we are here on Charlotte Street, and yeah, it does have a stigma, people of the community are the ones who have the power to change it. And that is the one thing that we are really endeavoring to doing by partnering with the TTPS, with the Port of Spain City Corporation, with the business community here in Charlotte Street and surrounding areas, so that they understand, the benefit of all of us bonding together and working together to create that safer atmosphere, that environment for persons to be willing and wanting to come to the Carnival Museum. So yeah, it's more than just some of the things that we have in place right now, but it's more about what we want to do to ensure that we create that sense of community in the area.
Because when you go to these Spaniards, there's a high level of discipline at these Spaniards.
Yeah.
I could talk about that because I am always around with these once, especially during the carnival period. I'll go visit it, and I want to hear who's getting ready and how they're getting ready. And I can vouch that the disciplinary um aspect of it, these padmen that we used to call Libajans and thing, I think they capitalize on that and use that now as disciplinary measures when you come to the panyard, because there's a high level of discipline at all the panyards. At the top of the building, when I went to the top of the building, I saw all stars right there. So,
Yeah.
I like the
Right
unique.
there, right behind us. Yeah.
Yes, it's a nice, unique, and I am hoping that people, like you said, the people who are closely connected, who live in the area, could advocate and to talk out loud about anti-crime initiatives that will make the place more attractive to people, be it local or foreign. So I appreciate the hard work that you guys are doing. I'm going to come by to meet you guys personally because
Yeah,
that's
I actually think you can come and do a live stream here.
yes, of course. I'm going to talk that with my boss, and they know I'm really committed to it, because on many occasions they say, David, why you only play local music? I say, well, that's in my DNA now, so I'm not going to change. And I've been always talking about the museum and what it really means to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and how we can sell Trinidad and Tobago. They say we have a carnival mentality. That's a nice commercial way of talking. You
Yeah.
know, if you
That's
think
right.
about our commercial, because I think we should even have royalties coming from all these 50 different carnivals to Trinidad and Tobago.
well,
I
well,
think something should
that
be
that
like that.
no, that's a good point to make, and actually, it's something I failed to mention that we actually have been working with WIPO, the World Intellectual Property
Property
Organization,
organization.
in
Yeah,
trying to set up some kind of ways in which our local artists and stuff could protect their property,
yes.
and protect their creativity. So I
Hmm.
mean, there's a lot that could be done from the TTCM, but we of course need the support and the assistance of
Yes.
of corporation and of the public,
Hmm.
because every drop fills the bucket.
Exactly.
We are stretching every single time
I know.
we,
I know.
we get right now.
I told
Yeah.
myself, I say, partner, you are a real belly, because I know what it takes. And I see you guys, I can see it in your faces that you are committed to this. And I'm happy that we have people like you who are committed. I hope others will gravitate. I mean, from the legal perspective, from the advertising perspective, all the different levels of commerce. I am hoping that they gravitate towards this, because this can be the real platform to showcase Trinidad and Tobago in its entirety, where our cultural virtues are concerned. I'm very serious about that. I talk that all the time, all the time, all the time, because I hear about all these carnivals all about. And I say, well, these people should be paid with some money, because when you see the kind of attraction they have to their carnivals, I mean, it's true
Yeah,
Trini style. Is there nothing looking like a Trini style? They carry the Trini traditions with them. They apply them, and you see the responses. It looks
yeah,
like every in an expert at Trinidad. So I
yeah.
think we deserve intellectual property rights to carnivals, and even the steel band. They say the steel band is the world governing body. So I am always willing to ask. Now I work for Pancho Baker and NCC too. So I'm a fighter on all levels. So I always want to ask them: is Carnival and Pan what, like FIFA controls football to
Mm,
to the seams? Anything you want to do with competition, they must go to FIFA. So I always want
mhm,
to ask Pan Bago's executive: is Pan to Pan Bago as football is to FIFA? Anytime we reach there, that same thing applies to the TTCM. Anytime you guys can get there, we're going to see how much relevance it will have on the development of the museum on its own. It can be sustainable, self-sustainable, and all of that. I would love to see that. So I will continue doing what I'm doing. But I must come and meet you, Peter, and Mr. Watley. I must come and meet you guys to see who I am.
You'll be more than welcome.
no
You'll
problem.
be more than welcome.
Yes, I plan to bring my two grandsons with me when I'm coming, because they're into pan and all of that. So, anything
Definitely.
else you guys want to say that I didn't ask you about the museum?
I think from my side it will be, we are open
Mhm.
from Wednesdays to Saturdays, 10 p.m. to 5 p.m.
Yeah.
It is a form of entertainment. It is a form of family entertainment and it's a form of learning.
Mhm.
It is clean fun. The more the public experiences the museum
Mhm.
is, the more we'll be able to help grow it
Yes.
and make it something better and something that Trinidad and Tobago could be very proud of. And we accept all within the museum. We are all encompassing. And I think the more y'all, at least more the public see what we're doing, I think the more they will help us out. And all those questions of, let's say, safety in the area, because the community will be proud of it. Let's
Mhm.
say all those things about funding and stuff, because hopefully corporate Trinidad continues to support it and
Yes.
add to it, as well as the Ministry of Tourism. We need all hands on deck here in preserving our history. And that is what it really boils down to. I
Okay.
mean, you mentioned just now about Panchamago and FIFA. The reality of it is that people wouldn't know it's ours unless it is we could prove it's ours.
Yes.
And what we do in here in the museum is actually proven that it is ours and
Yeah.
how long it has been ours.
Yeah.
And I mean, eventually we're talking about a TTCM here right now, Trinidad and Tobago Museum. But why doesn't each art form has its own museum?
Mhm.
That is where we should evolve to.
Yes. I quite
You
agree.
know, so it's a lot of work to be done.
Mhm.
Mr. Intyre, Ms. Gabriel is just the starting points of it. Peter and myself, we are just mere servicemen of the culture,
Yes.
and we continue hoping to promote and push the culture. But we need all hands on deck to make this dream a reality in terms of how far it could go.
Mhm. Peter?
Agreed. Um, I think for far too long, as a society, we have suffered from operating in silos. Each person, each entity, always trying to do everything on their own without looking to collaborate and seek help from others who could make the endeavor a lot more beneficial to everyone.
Mhm.
So here's where we extend those opportunities. Looking at the Carnival Museum not just as a singular entity, but as a collaborator and a contributor towards the wider tourism package. And
Mhm.
it's to that end, we are glad that we have those kind of relationships with the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Arts, and especially the Tourism Trinidad Limited. So that anything that they're involved in, whether it be cruise ships coming into the country or visitors, through our airports, these are the kind of collaborations we want to be able, to have, with those entities, not just to showcase only the TNT Carnival Museum, but just generally the culture and heritage of Carnival itself.
Okay, okay. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so very much for sharing with us. I know I'm going to have another program with you guys again because I'm going to come to see what happens after Carnival or during the Carnival. I'm going to come there and I'm going to see the progress that is being made. And I'm going to invite you guys again to have a further discussion, maybe from the commercial point of view or different aspects that we didn't touch on in this program. But I know you guys are busy. So I want to thank you sincerely from the depths of my heart for coming on board and sharing with me.
Thank you for having us.
Okay.
Thank you,
I'll
David. We appreciate the opportunity.
and I'll continue to promote it. Trust me. If you listen to me all the time, you hear me talking about Pan, Carnival
That's good.
Museum, Calypso, everything. So I'm on board with you guys.
Thank you.
Each one tell
Excellent.
one. That's the important
Yeah,
thing.
nice. I like that
Take care.
statement. I'm going to use that cliche also. Each one tell one.
Good
So
night.
thank you, Mr. Watley, and thank you, Peter. And it's been a pleasure
Yes.
chatting with you guys.
All right, take
My
care.
pleasure here as well, David. Take care.
Okay, great. That's our program for today. Trini Ting, live on Power 102 Digital Tuesday with me, David McIntyre.